Hi, how are you? My name is Pete, and in this video I'm gonna go over all the scouts in RoadCraft, and I'm gonna share my opinion with you guys, which of them is the best and why. Now let's get into that. So we have 6 scouts in the game so far, and let's start with the ones you are getting at the beginning of the game. So the first scout we will talk about is Minuteman K350 Rescue, which you can get at the beginning of the game for free, in a little bit different version, but essentially it is the same truck. So to get this one new, you need to spend 11,300 credits, and it doesn't have any level requirement. As you can see, it doesn't have the best acceleration, however once it gets going, it can reach a decent enough speed. Once it has the speed, it can go over the moat without much of a problem. However, things change when it doesn't have the momentum, and you can clearly see its struggle on the moat. Water is not much better, as it doesn't have snorkel, so it can't really get into deep water, and it generally does struggle in the water. Now let's see how it does with pulling bigger truck out of trouble. By the way, in case you didn't know, if you're trying to pull the truck using a scout, make sure you enable the towing option by holding RB and pressing A on Xbox controller, which I'm guessing is R1 and X on a PlayStation controller, and it's number 5 on the keyboard. What it does, it basically forces the pulled truck to release the handbrake, and on top of it, the pulled truck is helping you by trying to drive towards you. So if you don't enable towing, you will be pulling the truck with handbrake engaged and engine switched off. Now back to our Minuteman. As you can see, it doesn't really have the pulling power to be able to help the trucks in real trouble. And I wouldn't try to cross even small rivers with the Scout, as you might get stuck. And the last test, the wall. And here, as you can see, it's not very good at climbing them. Now, next scout is another scout that you can get for free at the beginning of the game, and this one is Armiger Thunder. And if you would like to buy it, it will cost you 12,800 credits, and just like the last one, it doesn't have any level requirements. Now this one is quite quick to accelerate, and it feels like it has the highest top speed out of all the scouts in the game. I might be wrong on this one, but that's how it feels to me. And as you can see, it does get through the moat, however it's not particularly fast at doing it. Where it shines, it's water, and it's not because it's fast, it's because it has a snorkel, which means it can traverse relatively deep waters safely. And just like it was with the previous truck, it's not the best at pulling heavier trucks. It just lacks the pulling power. However, as you can see, it doesn't really have much troubles getting through the river, partially thanks to its snorkel. Now the wall is a different story, as it is unable to climb it without using the winch. Now the next scout is only available for people that own the DLC, so if you're not interested in this one, feel free to use the timeline below to skip ahead. This scout is also available from the beginning of the game, however you can't get it for free, and it will cost you 35,000 credits, which is quite steep, especially at the beginning of the game. And this guy is generally okay at everything, but it's best at nothing. As you can see, it doesn't have very quick acceleration, and the top speed definitely feels slower than both previous trucks. It does seem to deal a bit better with the moat, but again, you won't break any speed records traversing the moat with this scout. When it comes to water, again, it's okay. It doesn't have the snorkel, so you need to be careful not to go too deep. However, what it is good at is the pulling power. As you can see, it's definitely better than previous scouts. By the way, in case you are wondering, yes, I made sure that pull truck is in the same position for all tested scouts, which is stuck every time on the same underwater rock. Now when it comes to crossing the river, as you can see, it does have some troubles, but in the end it makes it through. And lastly, just like everyone else so far, it can't handle almost vertical wall without using the winch. Now next on the list is Dawn 72 Malamute, which will set you back 42,000 credits, and you need to be level 9 before you can get yourself one of those bad boys. And this one, in my opinion, is best mid-game scout. It's just good at pretty much everything. As you can see, it has decent acceleration and it feels like it has one of the highest top speeds in the game, and it doesn't take that long to reach it. When it comes to mood though, as you can see, it does much better than previous tracks, whether it has momentum or not. Now despite not having a snorkel, it doesn't seem to have much trouble with water either. It does however have troubles with pulling heavy truck, so its pulling power, it's definitely not the best. And I guess at this stage no one is surprised how easily it crossed the river. The infamous wall however, well, that's a different story, but despite the wall and pulling power, it's still one of the best scouts in my opinion. Now let's move on to the last two, and now we have TOO's 303 Karelian, which will cost you 39,400 credits, and you need to unlock the rusty version first by going to Sunswept map and do a series of missions before you will actually get one. Don't worry, it doesn't actually take that long to unlock it once you get to that map. I think it's one of the first 5 missions or something like that. Now this scout is really unique because it's the only scout we have in the game so far that uses tracks instead of wheels. So by default, it makes it really good at maneuvering in tight spaces. It has surprisingly good acceleration for truck vehicle and decent top speed. It can be however tricky to control as its steering is very sensitive. As you can see, it's definitely the best so far at traversing the moat, whether it has momentum or not. Water also doesn't cause any problems, however keep in mind that it is relatively low profile, so it's totally possible to flood the engine if you feel too brave. And it has by far the best pulling power out of all the scouts in the game. And just as a reminder, as I mentioned before, I made sure that big truck is stuck on the same rock for each of the scouts to make it fair. And despite its low profile, it has zero problems traversing the river. However, just like everyone else, it really struggles with climbing the wall. Also, because of its characteristics, it's really good at cleaning the areas out of rubbish, or alternatively bringing the resources to converting facilities. Overall, I think it's extremely good scout if you play to its strengths and avoid deep water. Lastly, we have TOO's 119 Lynx, which in my opinion is the best overall scout in the game, despite losing in some aspects to previous scout Karelian. And this one will set you back 24,990 credits, but in order to get it, first you need to obtain the rusty version of it, which you can get on the luge map, and it's one of the first missions of this map, so you'll get it relatively quickly. Now, this scout acceleration is not the best as you can see, however it does have a decent top speed. The mood, however, has almost no effect on this scout. And as you can see, water also doesn't cause any problems, partially because it's one of 2 scouts in the game so far that has a snorkel. Now the pulling power is not as impressive as it was with Karelia, however it's definitely second best we have seen in this video. And finally, our infamous wall gets beaten without using a winch. So to sum it all up, I wouldn't say that Lynx is the best scout in the game at everything and that's the only scout you need. I will say, however, if you have Lynx and Karelian, you will be pretty much unstoppable. Now, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.